Ladies and gentlemen, the goal in your life is not to figure out how to be comfortable in your mental prisons, but to realize that you have the keys to set yourself free.
So hi, today we are here with Tim Shurr. He's an amazing man and I'm really honored to have him here in this podcast. So Tim is a world's leading transformational coach. So it means that he helps people to take their life and their businesses to the next level. And what is really amazing about this man is that he has more than 30 years of experience and he has given more than 10,000 coaching sessions. So you can imagine like his experience is amazing. And he has also written many books, and one of them is Get Out of Your Way. And it's really an amazing book because if you want to win at life, if you want to remove the blocks that are holding you back from the life that you truly want, this book will really help you. And I was blown away by the content in this book, and the link is in the description just below. Hi, Tim. How are you? Welcome to this podcast.
Thank you, Alan. It's an honor to be with you on your program.
Awesome. Let's jump right in. Let's imagine that we had a time machine and we could go back in time and you could talk to little Tim 10, 20 or 30 years ago. What would be the 3 lessons or the 3 success advice that you would give him? What would you tell little Tim?
Great question. So the first advice would be, and I think the most important bit of advice is work really hard on loving and accepting yourself. No matter what you experience. People walk around with so much worry and fear about not being good enough, not being able to measure up. You know, I felt like I was never smart enough. I was never popular enough. And I didn't feel like I could have what I want or accomplish what I want. I always felt so insecure and so full of anxiety and so full of worry. So, learning that, not to chase approval or validation would be the second thing I would tell little Tim. Because when we feel insecure and we feel anxious and we feel like we're not enough, then we try to get other people to like us. And we can do it in a whole bunch of ways that end up hurting people's feelings or causing guilt and shame. And when you chase somebody, they run. So chasing approval, chasing fame, chasing money, chasing love, all of that stuff causes it to run away from you. You actually repel it at an unconscious energetic level. So instead of trying to chase something, we attract it, we draw it to us. And the fastest, easiest way to draw it to us is by giving it to ourselves. So if I wanted more love, I give myself more love. If I want more approval or validation, I give it to myself. And then I also give it away. If I want more friends, I start being a friend to more people. Right? If I want more money, I start being generous with the money that I have and start giving it to people who could really use it. Even if it's only $1, then I'm going to give that $1 to somebody who will appreciate that $1. And so the first 2 pieces of advice for little Tim is love and accept yourself no matter what. 2, validate yourself. Know that you're already good, that you're already enough, that you're already whole, that you don't have to prove it. Because we feel like we have to somehow prove ourselves. And the problem with that is that no matter how many times you prove yourself, it just doesn't feel like it's enough. And so you have to keep doing it over and over. The third bit of advice I would give Tim is to learn how to remain calm and be comfortable in uncomfortable situations. Because in life, there's so many things that you're going to experience, so many highs, so many lows. And if you keep getting caught up in what's happening in the moment, then you end up stressed out a lot. right? Always worrying about what's going to happen, and am I going to be okay, or is my relationship going to work out? Am I going to be able to pay my bills? Am I going to be able to have the freedom that I desire? Am I going to be able to do the work that I love? What if I don't know what my purpose is? And we worry a lot. And usually once we get through the situation, we look back and we realize that it wasn't as bad as it felt at the time. Or we realize that, even though we went through those tough situations, we learned so much from it. We grew so much from it that it ended up being something that was a blessing. It was painful to go through, but I'm glad I went through it because it allowed me to become the person that I needed to become, or that I was supposed to become. And so if you can recognize that when you're going through it, then you can be more resourceful and more peaceful instead of always looking back and, having that hindsight. You can actually in real time go through situations and feel comfortable in uncomfortable situations. So those would be the 3 bits of advice that I would give little Tim.
Wow, that's really amazing. The first one is really, really great because you said that you have to learn to love yourself more. How did you do that? How did you accept who you were and allowed yourself to just say, hey, this is who I am. I love myself. How did you come up with that?
That's a really good question, Alan. A really good question. And, a lot of people hire me to come in and help their companies, make millions of dollars or to build higher performing teams. And so when someone interviews me and they're like, what's the secret to success, Tim? And I say, love yourself. Sometimes people are like, what? But like you said, I've been a coach and a counselor for, I've been in private practice 26 years, and I've been at this for over 30 years, and I've worked with tens of thousands of clients, and it always comes back to that feeling of not being enough. And then how do you solve that? By loving yourself and accepting yourself and encouraging yourself. So there's usually a few ways that I call this the awakening. It's in my new book. It's called One Belief Away. It'll be coming out soon. And I take people through this awakening process where you go and you find the beliefs and where they came from, right? Because you're always one belief away from whatever breakthrough it is that you want. And if you want self-love, which you really should have that foundation, because even if you end up having material success and you've got a lot of money in the bank, if you don't love yourself, you won't be happy. You'll have more money, but you won't be happy. And that can really mess with people because they tend to believe that if you just have money, then all your problems are solved, and that is false. And so, because I ended up having a ton of money and still felt anxious all the time, still worried that I was going to lose it. I was making more money than I ever made in my life, and I was still as stressed out as I ever was. And so it was a process of learning how to do this and figure this all out, and reading tons of self-help books and going to seminars and hiring coaches, because that's the path that you take to become fulfilled and successful and happy. And so I started realizing that I had a lot of beliefs in my life from growing up where I felt like I wasn't enough. And then because I felt like I wasn't enough, I would act in a way that would kind of make that seem like it was accurate. So if I thought I wasn't smart, I wouldn't study, because then it would make me feel bad. And then I would assume I'm going to get a bad grade because I'm not smart. So I didn't study, and then I got a bad grade. And then I said, see, look, I must be dumb because I got this bad grade. But it wasn't that I wasn't smart. I just didn't apply myself because of the belief that it wasn't going to work out for me anyway. And so I would go back to those, I'd say, I'd get in touch with the feeling that I had of not being good enough and try to follow it back to the first time I ever felt that way. And what was the situation where I formed that belief? And then what I would do is I would start to rewrite that memory, Alan. I would instead of being the guy that asked the girl out and she said no, or the guy that tried to hit a baseball and struck out, I would imagine myself hitting the home run, or the girl saying yes, or me saying, if she says no, it's like, well, that's okay, you miss out. And then I go ask somebody else who would say yes. I would start to imagine myself getting what I wanted so that I didn't have to do all this dysfunctional behavior to get it, right? I could just give myself that love and that peace. Instead of being angry at the little kid inside of me for being scared, for being hurt, for acting in a way that wasn't good, I would be more consoling, more encouraging, more supporting, because there was a reason why he was acting that way. and people weren't recognizing that, and he wasn't getting what he needed. And so I decided I was going to kind of reparent myself, and I was going to give him that love, that support, that understanding, that encouragement. You know, when you're a kid, you don't have much power, but as an adult, you do. And I see things differently at age 50 than I did when I was 7 years old. So I can take that wisdom and take it back to that time and help that little kid view the situation in a new way. And that is kind of the process of learning how to love and empower yourself. It starts by upgrading your beliefs.
Wow, really amazing. And I can totally relate to that because I had the belief that I had to be accepted so that I could be loved. And the moment I discovered that, everything changed because I said, this is who I am and I'm going to love me for who I am. And that totally changed. Now, for point number 2, you said that it's about not looking for the validation of other people. How were you able to do what you wanted to do and not having like other people influence your decisions? Just say, hey, this is Tim. This is who I am. I'm not going to let other influence my choice. Like, could you talk a little bit about what happened to you and how you dealt with that?
Yeah, another excellent question. So it's very challenging to not want the approval of others, because we all do. I mean, I like the approval. When I go give a keynote, I like people to cheer. I like it even better if they stand up and they applause. You know, so I like it. I definitely have someone who appreciates it. I don't need it as much now because I've had it, right? I've had lots of approval and praise and stuff. But earlier on, when I was younger, I still wanted it. But I was surrounding myself around people and information that would help me to recognize that these things that we're talking about, right? And so a big part of this is getting a coach, finding a mentor, listening to programs and podcasts, shows like yours, Alan, and reading books or listening to audiobooks, because this is where you take somebody who has spent a lifetime figuring this stuff out, and then they give it to you and you can download it, you know, in a couple of hours instead of 20 years. That's incredible. And most people still don't do that, except for the ones who become more self-aware. And so by hanging around other people who are helping you to recognize when you are doing things based on making everybody else happy, and how to shift that and how to show up in a different way, I think is really important. Because remember, if we're chasing approval, it kind of means that we don't already have it. Yep. And if we don't already have it, we need to shift that inside of ourselves. There's an old saying, it says, you don't see the world as it is, you see the world as you are. And so if you feel like you're missing something in your life, it's not something out there, it's really something in here. Because what we're looking for are feelings, emotions. You know, love is an emotion. Having money it's not about the paper or the currency. It's about the feeling that comes with it. Are we looking for more freedom? Are we looking for more security, right? Are we looking for more adventure? Are we looking for more power? Are we looking to contribute in a bigger way? You don't have to have money to feel any of those feelings. You can feel all of that stuff on your own. There's another old saying I love. It says, if you learn to go within, you never go without. And so these are all different ways of being able to figure out what is it that I need, and then how can I give that to myself? And then once I have that, how can I share that with others?
Wow, really amazing advice. Really amazing. So this was number 2, and number 3 was about being comfortable with the uncomfortable. And I think that's an issue that most people have. Like, they are stuck in the things that they know. They are stuck in their comfort zone. What would be the advice that you would give someone who has a dream, but is a little bit afraid to step out of this comfortable zone and, you know, like go into the unknown?
Another awesome question. So you just described billions of human beings. Yeah. So our comfort zone often is quicksand. It's often a trap, because a lot of times people will say, well, you know, I'm in my comfort zone, but when they describe their situation, they don't sound comfortable at all. You know, I want to lose 50 pounds, but if I don't, you know, it's going to be uncomfortable trying to get rid of that weight. Well, you're lugging around 50 extra pounds every minute of the day. That's already uncomfortable. You hate if someone grabs a camera to take your picture. You don't fit in your clothes. You're tired. You might have type 2 diabetes. They're already in their in a trap. So it's not that they're comfortable, it's that it's familiar. And because it's familiar and it's what they know, it makes them feel safe, but it's not really comfortable. And if you want to help someone start to change, you have to get that idea that where they are is comfortable, and you've got to shift that to where they are is painful. Remember, there's an old story. I was just talking with Brian Tracy, right? And he would tell a story about Eat That Frog, and from a book that he wrote about if you had to eat a frog, first thing every day, just eat it. You know, don't think about it. The longer you stare at it, the harder it's going to be. Just eat it. And then once you've done that, any other problems that show up will seem small and easy, because if you can eat a frog, everything else is easier. And I always remembered that if you want to change, you got to move quickly before you talk yourself out of it. And then Zig Ziglar told another story. He said, if you take a frog and you put him in a cold frying pan and you slowly turn up the heat, that frog will just sit there and literally cook in its own juices. However, if you heat that frying pan up first so it's nice and hot, you throw that frog in it, that frog will hit the pan and jump right back out, right? You got to turn up the heat if you want it to jump, which means that instead of telling yourself that you're comfortable where you are and changing could be worse, instead you flip that around and you get yourself to believe that staying where you are would be horrible. And you got to get yourself to jump, because when you move and you make this transformation, that's where all the comfort and the pleasure is waiting for you.
Yeah, amazing. And I really like to say that we take baby steps, you know, like every day we take a small step towards our dreams, and it works really, really well. So I'd like to encourage people that are watching right now, take one step, no matter how small it is, but take one step right now towards your goals.
Yeah, let me add to that real quick, because that's what I always would say too. And you're right. You're exactly right. Small steps, baby steps, inch by inch, life is a cinch. You know, 1,000-mile journey begins with the first step. So you hear that. However, I've been hanging around with some of the most successful people in the world, the multimillionaires, the multiple New York Times bestselling authors, and they say, take a big step, take a bold move, right? Because sometimes baby steps, although they're important, you got to keep making those baby steps. So that's essential that you do that. So you are right. What they're also saying is you got to also make some big moves, because the big moves create momentum quickly, and the big bold moves that you make actually can get you results that you can see that are tangible. And people always say that if I just got some results, I would be more motivated. So sometimes a bold move can be something that really helps people to take off because they've experienced something exciting. So if you were going to begin fitness, for example, you shouldn't do a big mold of walking for 3 miles, because that, you know, you're not going to be able to walk the next day because you'll be too sore. So that's where you do a small move. Maybe you stretch around, maybe you go for a short 5-minute walk, maybe do a couple push-ups. So a small baby step, and you do those more every day, and then you build up. A bold move might be where you call up a personal trainer and you book them and you pay them in advance for 30 days of training, because now you're locked in.
Yeah.
And that's a bold move, because now you just hired your trainer, right? You've committed yourself, and now there's no going back. And if you back out, you just lost the money, and that would be painful. And that's how you turn up the heat.
Yeah, it's really powerful. If you combine the bold moves with these baby steps, you will become a big success. So it's really, really powerful. In your book, Get Out of Your Way, you say something that is really interesting. You say, making fear your friend.
Yeah.
Like I hate fear. Like, how can I make fear my friend? And why should I make fear my friend? I don't really understand. Could you just explain a little bit about that?
Yes, because fear was with me for so long, and I was always trying to get rid of it. And the more I would push it away, the bigger it would get. It's like the more I was trying to get away from that feeling, the more I was feeding the feeling, right?
Yeah.
And then I started realizing that fear often is an opportunity. So what am I afraid of? Well, I'm afraid that it's not going to work out. Why do I believe that? Because it never has. How come? Well, I don't know. Maybe because I held back, or because I wasn't making bold moves, or because I didn't. Why not? Because I was afraid that I wasn't going to be good enough. Okay, there's the belief. The fear allowed me to find the belief. Okay, now I can upgrade the belief. The fear goes away. Or the fear shows up, and now I have to become courageous. You can't have courage without having fear as well.
Yeah.
If you're not afraid, you're not courageous. Courage is having the fear and doing it anyway. That's where courage comes from. So it gives you the ability to have courage. Fear is also an opportunity for you to become more resourceful. I'm afraid this isn't going to work out. What can I do in this situation? Or, I'm afraid that I might be attacked walking home, so I'm going to take self-development classes or personal, karate classes or something like that, self-defense classes. And now I'm more confident, and actually just because of taking the classes. See, when I was in school, I got bullied a lot. Yeah. And then in high school, I started taking karate. And as soon as I started taking karate, it seemed like I didn't get picked on anymore. I didn't get bullied anymore. And it's because I had a different energy. Instead of being afraid that it was going to happen and drawing a predator to me, I was walking around like, if it happens, I'm going to handle myself. And predators don't want to deal with people like that. They're looking for fear and weakness. You show up strong, they're going to be like, no, I'm going to find someone else. And you protect yourself at an energetic level, right? I learned karate, and then I've never been in a fight since, which is really funny, And so again, fear, F-E-A-R, people have heard as false evidence appearing real, right? I always said fear, F-E-A-R, stood for F everything and run, right? I was afraid, I was out of here, I was hiding, I was full of anxiety. I mean, I struggled with anxiety most of my life. But then I learned that fear can be used to your advantage. It can make you wiser, it can make you stronger, it can make you more resourceful. So now I turn fear, F-E-A-R, into feeling excited and ready.
Awesome. And how are you aware of your fears? Like, do you listen to the little voice? Like, how can you understand, like, what kind of fears you have that are running in the back of your mind?
So there's two ways of doing it. So the first way is you get a feeling. Yeah. Right? So you're feeling afraid. You get that sinking feeling in your stomach, that knot in your stomach, or your chest gets tight, or you're holding your breath, or, you're speeding up inside, or you don't want to get out of bed, right? So that's one way. You notice how you're feeling. And then what you do is you ask yourself, what would I have to believe in order to feel this way? What would I have to believe in order to feel this way? I'd have to believe that something's not going to work out. I have to believe that something bad's going to happen. I have to believe that I'm not going to be able to handle it, right? So when the coronavirus hit, and it hit the United States, I had keynotes scheduled every single month, and my private practice was rocking. I had people coming in all day long, every single day. And then all of a sudden my keynotes all got canceled. And I stopped going into my office for a couple of months. And I still haven't been back in my office. I've been doing virtual coaching through Zoom and through the telephone for the last several months. But when it first hit, 90% of my business stopped. I lost a lot of money. Now, old Tim would have freaked out. Like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? They say that's going to be here the next 3 years. I lost 90% of my money. I'm having a hard time paying my mortgage. What's going to happen? And I would have been freaking out, stressed out, eating, drinking, trying to drown myself from it, watching movies all the time and not taking any action. And if I would have done that, it would have created a whole bunch of problems. But resourceful Tim said, this is an opportunity. I'm going to get my new books written. If I don't have all those clients and I can't do anything about it, I'm going to get my books written. I'm going to create more relationships. I'm going to have time to do Alan's podcast, right? I'm going to take advantage of all these opportunities that are coming up. And I started looking for the opportunities and the miracles. And because I was looking for them, I found them. And now I've been able to create all kinds of amazing success because I was expecting to, because I was looking for it. So the first way you find the fear is, how are you feeling? The second thing that you said is, are you listening to, what you're saying to yourself in your head? The answer to that is yes, all the time. All the time. Every waking moment, I'm listening to my thoughts. I'm paying attention to what I'm saying to myself. Most people don't do that. I'll say, how's your self-talk? And they'll say, myself what? Yeah. Your self-talk, how you talk to yourself in your head all day long. I'm like, well, I don't really know, right? It's called mindfulness or self-awareness. Your thoughts are determining your destiny. And whatever you think about most of the time, your life becomes. And so I'm always thinking about my thoughts and what I'm saying and redirecting. I can't control the thoughts that come into my head, but once they're there, they're mine. and I can redirect them towards the outcomes that I want.
Awesome. Really powerful advice. Thank you. So you have a lot of experience coaching people. You have coached more than 10,000, you have more than 10,000 coaching sessions that you have given. What was the most beautiful transformation that you have seen in a client?
Oh, well, that's an easy one and great question. So I see it regularly. It's the realization that I am worthy of love, that I deserve to be happy, right? That I have the power to make myself feel good, and I'm not reliant on other people doing the right thing, because sometimes they won't ever, right? So the realization that I am happy and that I'm worthy of love, that I have control over how I feel, that I can go from being completely emotionally paralyzed to have this incredible freedom is extraordinary. And I haven't seen it once or twice. I see it all the time, because I take people through these awakening experiences where we're upgrading their beliefs, we're releasing anger and guilt and shame and all that stuck energy. We're getting rid of the values conflicts where I want this, but I also want this, and so people are feeling stuck, right? And shifting that so that they're able to start having really measurable breakthroughs in their life. And it's very exciting. So I see it all the time. One of my favorite compliments that I ever got came from a student of mine, Roger. And he said, what would look like a miracle to us is just another day at the office for Tim.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So
that's really amazing. What would you tell someone who really wants to become more happy, have a better life, pursue the dreams? What would be like the 2-minute speech that you would tell this person? For example, if you only had 2 minutes with one person and this person wanted to have a better life, become what it is, like destroy their fears, like what would be like the 2-minute gold advice that you would tell them?
I would tell them to listen to your program. That's what I would tell them. It took me 5 seconds. Listen to Alain Wolf's program, because you're bringing this advice to people so that they can transform their lives. That's what you're doing, right? You're bringing information, you're bringing the tools, you're bringing the strategies, you're bringing the formulas, you're bringing, the best minds in the world to your program and sharing their advice with people. And what you do is you listen to your program, because we've already shared, the secrets already, in the brief conversation that we've had. Find a coach, find a mentor, surround yourself with positive information and positive resources that grow you personally, your personal development, your self-help resources. Focus more on uncovering beliefs than on anything else you do, because your beliefs are determining your destiny, and your beliefs are mostly unconscious, which means your unconscious mind is determining your destiny, not you consciously. And so we need to upgrade that part of your mind. And it's very difficult to do that on your own. You usually need a coach or someone to help you go through it. And those are really the secrets. So hire a coach, surround yourself with positive information like you have right here, and then upgrade your beliefs. And then the fourth bit, I guess, would be pay attention to how you're talking to yourself every day, because your beliefs are driving your thoughts, but then you also can control your thoughts so that you're always focusing on the outcome that you want. Most people focus on what they don't want, what they don't like, what they don't have, and what's missing. And because that's what they focus on, they end up with more of all of that, what's missing and what they're unhappy about. You got to focus on what you want, because what you think about comes about. Whatever you focus on expands. So if you say, I don't want to procrastinate, you're going to procrastinate more. If you say, I want to feel motivated to accomplish this, to get the house clean, then what you do is you say, I am motivated, and you imagine the house is already clean, which makes you feel excited. And then you clean one corner, and you start with one baby step. Like you said, you start with one action, and you get that done. And then you're like, yes. And then you feel good. And then you do the next step. And before you know it, that house is clean, and you're feeling like, wow, this is amazing. What else can I accomplish now?
Yeah. Awesome. When you started being successful, did you have people that were trying to put you down, like toxic people that didn't understand what you were doing and were trying to sabotage you? Or how did it happen? Like, were you surrounded by positive people, negative people? And how did you deal with these two kind of people?
So I don't think of it as positive or negative, because we have both of those inside of us. I've been very positive and I've been very negative, but that's not who I am. That's just a behavior that shows up based on the beliefs that I have. And so I think that there's more confidence and more fear. And I think that when people are holding others back, it's because of fear and because of not feeling good enough. When we see somebody else succeed, most of the population gets envious and jealous and is hoping that they're going to end up falling on their face.
Yeah.
Which is why people love watching celebrities. They love celebrities, and they also love when they get busted, and then they go and have a divorce or some scandal breaks out, because they want to be that person, but then they feel like they're not that person, which makes them feel smaller. And then the word belittle comes from that. Belittle, it makes us feel smaller. And so then they hope that something goes bad for them. And we will see that as people being negative or unsupportive, but really it just comes from their fear. So I remember I was starting to be more successful, and someone had given me a really nice watch as a present. And I was wearing that watch, and I was around my mother, and she saw the watch, and she looked at me and she says, "Oh, who do you think you are? You're all fancy now with that," right? And then what happened was I went home and I took the watch off, and I didn't wear it again for months, right? Because of that old belief. And then I realized what had happened, and her insecurity got into my brain, and then I had to throw that out. And instead of being angry at her or belittling her back, what I did was say, you know what, this is my belief. I need to upgrade that. I want to wear the watch. I'm going to wear it, right? If someone has an issue with it, that's their issue. They need to work on that. I'm not going to let someone change me because of their issue. I can't be broke enough to make somebody else rich. I can't be sick enough to make somebody else healthy. It doesn't work that way. I need to be healthy and successful and rich and abundant and be an inspiration to those who see it that way. When you and I see people, sure, we get envious sometimes, but usually we're like, how can I have that? What's their mindset? What are their strategies? And we try to emulate them and turn them into a role model so that we can have that too, right? So instead of trying to make people small, we're trying to make people feel tall, and lift people up. And I think that that's one of the reasons why we have to be mindful of what we're saying to ourselves.
Awesome. So you didn't have people who were trying to put you down. You had people who gave you some advice on, for example, your mom say, hey, you shouldn't wear this watch. But did you have people who were really trying to put you down and told you mean things when you were being successful?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
You're human. You're human.
Sure. Of course. You'll have people like that. I remember a keynote one time. I did a keynote for an audience, and there's always some person in there. I had there was about 80 people in the group. They did a survey. I got 65 5 stars out of the group. And then I got one person that said, they weren't impressed. And then I had another person that said it was really cheesy. All right. Yeah. And so I have 99% of the people that are saying awesome. And then I had these 2 people that are saying, oh, not impressed, cheesy, And then, of course, at first, my mind's like, what's wrong with them? And now I'm like, no, I don't care. I'm going to focus on the 65 happy people. I'm not going to focus on the 1 or 2 because, in Christianity, Jesus came here, he walked on water, he healed the sick, he tried to save the planet by just getting us to love one another. And what did we do? We tied him to a tree, right? And crucified him. There's always going to be haters out there. There's always going to be trolls. I have people that have got on when I've been doing a live Facebook live or something like that, and I'll get people on there and they'll start cussing and saying horrible things and talking about my wife and all this stuff because they're trying to get a rise out of me, because that's all they have. That's their tool to feel significant, is to try to rip people apart. That's their only tool. So I just try to send them love. I used to get really angry, right? But now I realize that, I wouldn't want to trade places with that person. That's what they have, and that's pretty sad. And that karma is going to just keep ruining their life, and they're going to blame everybody else instead of themselves. And their life is just going to get worse and worse and worse. And that's unfortunate. So, but if I internalize that hate or that anger or that jealousy and then throw it back out, then I'm going to attract more haters. Right? So I got to keep coming back to my center and focusing on love and peace and prosperity and abundance and support and care, because that's what I want more of. So I keep bringing it back. And the third thing about that is, if you are having people in your life, because remember, Alan, when I first started this profession and trying to educate myself, I was the first one in my family to go to college. And I didn't know any successful people. I didn't know any rich people. I didn't know anybody that was an entrepreneur.
Yep.
And so when I was surrounding myself with these people, I was going to the library and I was renting cassette tapes and putting them in my Walkman and just walking around the block for hours and hours. So my mentors and coaches were people that I never personally met. And but I listened to their stuff so much that I felt like we were friends. Right. And now, you know, a lot of these people are friends of mine, I have met them, right, and had them on my How to Be Mesmerizing podcast and all that stuff. So it's very important to feed yourself that information one way or another. You could have everybody else not believing you, but as long as you believe in you, then you're going to be able to have some pretty awesome breakthroughs.
Yeah, it's really amazing what you said. You said that you should answer with love. When someone attacks you, like, you should answer with love. And it ties back to the first advice that you gave little Tim. It was about loving yourself. And I really like the way that you express yourself, because it's about expressing with love. You know what I mean? So it's really powerful, like the way that you express yourself is really, really amazing. Who is someone who has inspired you and made you the man that you are today?
Well, so God and me are the ones that made me the man I am today.
Yeah.
From working really, really hard on myself all the time. At the end of the day, you get credit for who you are. The people that helped and inspired me, that helped me to be who I am, who I could not have been who I am without their help. Number one was my wife. She has had the hardest job of anybody trying to mature me. She's put up with a lot of crap over the years and stayed with me and sacrificed a lot trying to help me to become the person that I am today, and the person that people see, the public figure. And then all my coaches, mentors, and clients, right? No one is self-made. You know, you have a whole world of people who help you to be successful, right? A whole bunch of people that come into your life that are blessings upon your life. Like you are a blessing in my life, Alan, you know, from how we met and having fun and getting together and trading strategies and learning and growing and being excited for each other and supportive of one another. And our goal when we get together is, how can I help Alan grow so fast? And you're like, how can I help Tim grow so fast? And we're not trying to figure out what we can get from each other. We're trying to figure out what we can give to one another. Yeah. And when you have people in your life like that, where you're truly giving with no strings attached, that's an extraordinary gift. And so I keep trying to be a person like that, you know, to give. And because, you know, I always say that the more value you bring to others, the more valuable you become. So if you want more value, keep bringing more value to others. And that can be in the form of compliments or support or listening or financial help, or, you know, there's lots of ways that you can give of your time, your money, or your talent, right? These are your three treasures. And so I think that and then of course, all the people that I've listened to that have written the books, that have taken the time, because it's hard to write a book, taking the time to put all their information into pages and then polish it and then
into a book. Like, it takes a lot of energy.
It takes a lot. And so, you know, for someone to take all the time to put their knowledge in there and then just give it to you for $20,
yeah,
you know, so I have thousands of people to thank for me being who I am today.
Yeah. Really powerful. You said that it's about giving, like give value, give value, give value. And there are many people who are watching who are afraid of giving value because they say, oh, I can be hurt, I can be taken advantage of. Like, what would you tell these people?
Yeah, I had the same thing in the beginning. Oh, they're going to steal my stuff. They're going to rip me off. Well, you're coming from fear. You're coming from a scarcity mindset. You're coming from a lack consciousness, as most people are, right? So So this book that I wrote, One Belief Away, I wrote it with Joe Vitale, and I'm taking people through the awakening experience. And then Joe is teaching people how to use the law of attraction to attract more financial abundance and prosperity. And so Joe says that there's 4 levels that people go through when you're wanting to create enlightenment, right? When you want to be fully self-actualized. And he said the first level that most everybody starts at is victimhood. And in victimhood, we're usually feeling sorry for ourselves. We have a lot of pity parties, and we also are very blamey. We tend to blame everybody for everything instead of taking responsibility, because we don't want to look like anything's our fault, because then what would that mean, right? And so because of that insecurity, we tend to have pity parties or blame everybody instead of taking responsibility, and that keeps us a victim. But as soon as we start owning it and taking responsibility for ourselves and being independent on our own, it moves us into empowerment, which is the second phase. And in empowerment, you start owning everything that you've experienced in your life. Even if you feel like it wasn't your fault, you say, maybe I attracted it in some way, I'm owning it. Now, what am I going to do with it? Right? Because it puts you in power. You know, if you went through some trauma, you know, one of my specialties is helping people with trauma and post-traumatic stress, and helping them to triumph over it and take their life back, right? Because once something's happened, you can't do anything about the fact that it happened, but you can take the belief and the experience and use it to make you stronger. And so that's what I help people do, and it works, and they become stronger, and it's amazing. We take the tiny little pieces of their heart, we put it back together, show them how powerful they are, that was an experience, but they are the experiencer. And we take those traumas and we shrink them down, and then we use it to help them become stronger and more powerful. And so empowerment is really the ability to take charge no matter what you've been through. Then it moves you into the third stage. And the third level is what we call surrender. And surrender is tough, because when we're talking about surrender, it means let go of trying to chase that, whatever it is that you're chasing. Okay, that approval, or things have to happen for me to be happy. Yep. You know, I have to have the perfect marriage, the perfect kids, the perfect house, the perfect white picket fence, you know, the cars, the job, everything has to be perfect. Well, life isn't perfect, and that stuff doesn't usually work out that way. You know, there's challenges no matter where you're at, no matter who you are. And so, so surrender is about letting go of those needs and attachments. Now, you still pursue your goals. You still get excited about changing your life or taking it to the next level, not because you're trying to prove anything, but because you enjoy the learning, you enjoy the growth, you enjoy becoming the person that you're supposed to be, or that you want to be. Maybe that you're not supposed to be. Maybe you're just who you are, and that's already enough. But if you want to continue to grow and have new experiences, then your goals are your opportunity and the path to get you there. It's not about achieving the actual goal. It's about who you become while in the pursuit of that goal. And then the fourth step, of course, is what we call awakening or enlightenment or satori, right? Or self-actualization, depending on who's naming it. And that's where you're just walking around in a state of peace. So things aren't good or bad anymore, right or wrong. It's just things that happen, and this is how I handle it. And most of the, I'm just walking around feeling very peaceful and at ease.
Awesome. I see behind you that you have your book, like The Power of Optimism. How can you become more optimistic? Because when I tell people, hey, you should be more optimistic, the first thing they tell me is that, hey, I don't want to be optimistic. I want to be realistic.
Yeah. So what they are is a troubleshooter then. Okay. They're a problem solver. What they're telling you is that their mind functions differently. Okay. So Alan, you're optimistic. You think big picture. You think finding solutions. Yeah. You can handle the details, but you don't like the details because you're going for the big vision and the exciting stuff. You like lots of things happening. Yeah. You don't really need a plan. You like to have a plan, but you don't have to have one because you can think on your feet. You're grabbing opportunities as they show up.
Exactly.
You like that, right?
Yeah,
so
I like
you're an optimist. You're an entrepreneur. You are a solution finder. Well, on the other side of that spectrum is the troubleshooter, equally effective. The troubleshooter is somebody who does appreciate the details. They understand the bigger picture, but they are focused on the details. They like a plan. They like the structure. They like how to map things out. They don't want to deviate from the plan because they thought about this plan in every possible angle for a long time in a lot of depth. They lost sleep thinking about it. And so they have their plan and they don't want to, veer away from the plan. And they're very good at solving problems. So that's how they think. And so now there's two other types of attitudes, okay? And that's what I describe in this Power of Optimism book, which you can get the book or you can listen to the audiobook for free on YouTube. During COVID-19, I released a lot of free resources. And if you just look up The Power of Optimism, Tim Shurr, on YouTube, then I'm reading the audiobook to you and you can get it for free. Okay. So,
Awesome.
yeah. So the other two attitudes are the dreamer. Now the dreamer is on, so let me go through these real quick. So the dreamer is someone who has their head in the clouds, but their feet are not on the ground. So they're not being realistic. So and then on the opposite spectrum is the pessimist. And the pessimist is their head's in the ground and it stays in the ground. Nothing's ever going to work no matter what. Okay. So imagine you've got a dreamer, an optimist, a troubleshooter, and a pessimist, and they're all in a boat and the boat is sinking and they're pretty far from shore. Okay. The dreamer is going to look at the situation and say, oh, let's go swimming. Maybe we'll swim with the dolphins. Ooh, let's have sushi, right? And they're going to drown. You have the optimist. The optimist is sitting there going, all right, we're going to be safe. We're going to be okay. We're going to get through this. It's going to be an awesome story. Maybe we'll write a book one day about it, right? And so, but we need to solve this. Maybe we can put some chewing gum on the holes, right? And we'll be okay. The troubleshooter is going, that's not going to work. That chewing gum isn't going to work. And this idea and that idea and that idea, that's not going to work either. What we need to do is something like this. Right? And so they're very good at figuring out what isn't going to work because they're solving problems. And so that's why sometimes optimists and troubleshooters butt heads because they're just speaking a slightly different language. But a lot of times optimists think that troubleshooters are pessimists, and they're not. Troubleshooters are finding problems and solving them. Pessimists are finding problems and then just staying there. They're not looking for solving the problems. Pessimists are just always finding problems. So instead of trying to figure out how to keep the boat from sinking, they're sitting there going, I hate you people. I knew I shouldn't have done this. I didn't want to come on this boat to begin with. We're all going to die.
Yeah.
And that's the difference.
Awesome. So how can this type of people become optimistic? So you have the optimistic type, which is normal. He's optimistic. But how can the three other types become optimistic, more positive?
Alan, very good questions.
I know. That's my job.
So, okay. Well, I think part of it is through having the courage to be challenged, right? You have to be coachable, and not everybody is. A lot of people, unfortunately, hire coaches, hoping that the coach is just going to prove that what they were already thinking is accurate. Yeah. When people have hired me in the past, some, not a lot, but some clients have come in and all they wanted me to do was they wanted to tell me how awful their spouse was. And then they just wanted me to validate it, right? That they were right and they should feel good about leaving the marriage or blaming them or whatever. And then they would be very frustrated when I would start saying, well, there's two sides to every story. How are you contributing to this situation? So the people that are like, I don't know, I guess let's take a look at it. I don't really know. What do you think? Those are people who are searching for an answer. They're wanting to grow. So you got to be coachable. But I've met other people out there, I've met a lot of dreamers out there who are very metaphysical and they love having these wonderful experiences and they just want to hug things out and they don't want to talk about anything heavy and they love going to seminars and going through these dramatic experiences, but they never really change. They're still stressed out, deep inside, or their relationships are a mess, or they're still blaming their parents for their horrible childhood. They've never really taken responsibility and they don't want to. The reason they're so far out is because they've dissociated themselves from it. That's their defense mechanism, because they have a belief that if I have to go in there and open that door, all this pain is going to come out. And I don't know if I'll be able to recover because it was so traumatizing to go through it once. I don't want to go through it again. And that's the problem with a lot of therapeutic techniques is they cause people to have to relive their traumas. Sometimes that's re-traumatizing. So when I take people through this awakening experience, we don't do any of that. It's very gentle. It's very quick. Results happen fast. It doesn't take years. Usually takes less than an hour for people to have a huge, substantial breakthrough. And so that's why so many people don't want to change. And the pessimists are the same way. They're so skeptical. They don't believe it's going to work because they've had a lifetime of evidence based on the experience that they got, based on the beliefs that were formed in them that their parents probably had, and so, they have a lifetime of evidence saying that you can't trust people. Everybody's full of crap. They're out to get you. A coach is just going to take your money and scam you, and they, unfortunately, because they have those beliefs, that becomes their reality. So unless they are really open to transforming, it's going to be challenging. Now, if you are an optimist, you're never going to be a troubleshooter. And if you're a troubleshooter, you're never going to be an optimist, because you're born with certain temperaments, and you can't change personality. You can change attitudes and beliefs, but you can't change personality. So what you do is you teach people how to be a more effective troubleshooter and a more effective optimist. Yeah. Right? Where you get a little bit better. Optimists should be a little bit better at planning and being patient and slowing down and thinking before they jump. And troubleshooters need to be a little bit more confident about owning situations and jumping a little bit more instead of having everything, like perfectionists.
Awesome. Awesome advice. Thank you. If someone lacks motivation and they come to you, what would you tell them?
It's not so much about motivation. Zig Ziglar said that motivation is like a shower. You need it, but it doesn't last. And so if you're always trying to be motivated, you get fired up and then it fades away. You get fired up and then it fades away. So I'd rather trade in motivation for inspiration or passion. Yeah. And the way to help people to feel inspired or passionate about something is to help them to become clear on what it is that they actually want. What's the benefit of the thing that they want to accomplish? What's the benefit of that, right? So if people want to make more money, why? What emotion are they trying to satisfy? What goals are they trying to accomplish if they had more money? Why would you think that having this money would somehow make you a different person? It just exaggerates who you already are. I had a very wealthy guy tell me one time, he says, money doesn't make you any different. It just exaggerates who you are. So if you're a jerk without money, you're going to be a jerk with money. People say that, the wealthy people are snobby and selfish. And he's like, no, if they are snobby and selfish, they were like that before the money. Yeah. Right. And if they're happy and genuine and caring and giving, they were like that before they had the money. Money doesn't change you. Right. And so, we want to just help people recognize that, this is all a journey that we're on, and we can decide how we're going to go about it. And if you focus on the outcome that you want and you associate pleasure to the action steps, you're going to feel like following through. Procrastination is when you associate pain to the goal. If you associate pain to taking an action step, your brain is going to naturally repel from it. If you associate pleasure to an action step, your brain is going to naturally want to go towards it. Yeah. Most people associate pain to the goal and pleasure to not taking action. I want to lose weight, but I want to eat whatever I want and I don't want to exercise. Well, good luck. Okay. So, I want to be a famous motivational speaker, but I don't want to spend the next 10 years doing free talks. Well, then you're probably not going to get good enough to ever be a famous motivational speaker.
Yeah. Awesome. What's your last message to success?
The last message to success, I think, would be to really just use all of these tools and all of these insights. This has been an outstanding interview, an outstanding conversation. Yeah, you've asked some just fantastic questions, and really you have uncovered what it takes to be successful. You don't have to do much else than this, except put it into action. You got to apply the things that you've learned. But having amazing people in your life, hiring coaches so that they can help you grow faster, making bold moves, upgrading your beliefs, improving your self-talk and what you say and what you focus on, learning how to be self-motivated instead of always relying on others, and surrounding yourself with amazing content and programming like this. And, I don't know what your beliefs are, but I pray a lot and ask God to work through me and help me to be able to accomplish all these things. And then if you're going to be the most caring and kind and nice, make sure that you're doing that to your loved ones, especially to your spouse and children, if you're married or you have kids, or your best friend or your significant other. because we sometimes treat strangers nicer than we do the people that we're supposed to love and care about the most. And so let's make sure that we're taking care of the people who have always been taking care of us.
Awesome. If people want to get coaching from you, or they want to learn more about you, where can they go?
You can go to timshurr.com, and my contact information is there. If you just go to timshurr.com, then you can reach out that way. And then it'll give you links to videos, free training, my newsletter, my podcast, and all the resources that'll help you to make your life a sure success.
Awesome. The links will be below. Thank you so much, Tim Shurr. It was an amazing interview, and it was really a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much,
Alan.
Tim.
Yes, thank you so much. This was great. This was one of the best interviews I've ever had, and I really appreciate you for doing this.
Thank you.
Hey, would you like more free tips on how to be a mesmerizing leader? Then check out mesmerizingleadership.com, and also hang out with me on Facebook, facebook.com/Tim Shurr. Thanks so much, and make your day a sure success. Hey, it's Tim Shurr. Would you like to learn my best secrets for how to be mesmerizing? Then head over to www.survivingtothriving.me. That's www.survivingtothriving.me. I'll see you there.